in a cola. He described what he witnessed between the two parents and their daughter during that altercation.
While they were fighting, while the punches were being thrown, he did lay a punch onto the male student who fell back. And at that time, the adult actually grabbed this female student.
Sorry, when you say grabbed her, what do you mean by that?
He grabbed her by, like, through the front, spun her around, and then put a chokehold on her.
Now, up next for the state was a responding officer to the scene of the altercation. We'll have more from him later this hour. Michael?
All right, Cody, thank you so much for getting us caught up on that. Right now, I want to get you folks back into court where testimony is continuing. A woman who witnessed the fight is still on the stand on direct examination.
Trees, he was over there, and I saw the woman stumble across in front of me. And
I'm going to have you hit pause for a moment. When you say the woman stumble across in front of you, and I know that, first of all, do you know any of these individuals?
I don't know any of them personally, no.
Okay.
No.
And so I know that we are using a lot of young man, young woman,
yes.
The woman. I know that can be difficult, so I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things for me.
Okay.
First, I'm going to ask you to slow down just a little bit, okay?
Okay.
And so when you are talking about the young woman stumbled, which young woman are you referring to?
Do you want me to give them a name?
No.
Or, no. Okay.
I'm sorry, so you can't ask questions, but if you can't answer the question that's asked, you can say that and she will ask it in another way.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask, since you don't know any of these people individually, and I don't want you to testify about something that you may have learned later regarding names, I'm going to ask you to only use the description of the individuals that you saw at the time. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So starting first with the young woman that you described on the ground, where did she go?
She was pulled up and crossed in front of me to my left. So this was happening on the right side of me, and she crossed in front of me to the left side of me. The young man that had been punching the older man on the ground, he went with her and was pulling her. The two women that were initially at the scene that were both dressed in black, both the older woman and the younger woman, they followed the woman the young woman who had been pulled up from the ground.
Okay, I'm going to have you pause.
Okay.
Okay. And did you see how the two women wearing black, or all in black, how were they interacting with the young woman that had just stood up, that had been on the ground?
They seemed to be trying to...
Objection is to speculation as to what they're trying to do as opposed to what they did.
I'm going to sustain as to non-responsive.
So not assuming or speculating about what they did, what did you observe? What did it appear to you that you observed?
They were running toward the young woman who had just gotten up off the ground, and the young man was trying to prevent them from getting to her.
And what was the young woman doing specifically?
She was stumbling and running in the opposite direction of where she had come from.
Okay, was she running back towards either woman in black?
No, she was running away.
Okay. And so when you got across the street, well, let me back up. How did the young woman seem to you when you saw her? The young woman who had been on the ground, and I believe you described earlier the older man had had his arms around her.
She seemed...
calls for speculation as to her condition.
Overruled.
That means you can answer. How did she seem to you? How did she appear?
She appeared incredibly confused.
And what do you mean by that? What does that look like?
She seemed to not know what her surroundings were. She was like I said, she was in kind of a panic. At one point, there was a slight altercation between the women that were wearing black and the young man who was assisting the young woman who was on the ground. And at that point, I ran. I was in the middle of the street at that point, but I ran across and started screaming at everybody to just stop, because there was still fighting going on. And the young woman she turned around and looked at me, and her eyes were huge. I mean, she had hair in her face. She looked completely disheveled. She looked very confused, absolutely terrified. And she looked at me and then turned the opposite direction and ran towards the high school. So she didn't say any words or anything to me. So.
And initially or earlier in your direct, I believe you used the phrase she was not sure-footed. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that?
She was stumbling. She could not stay on her feet. She was trying to run, but was falling, tripping over herself.
And I'll come back to that question. So you said you called 911 during this, is that correct?
I called 911 before I left the truck, yes.
Okay. And did you stay on with 911 throughout that interaction?
I did.
Okay. What did you do? At some point, did you, what happened to the vehicle? What happened to your truck?
So after the young woman ran off towards the high school, the young man who was with her went that direction as well. And then I went back to the truck, and I pulled the truck into the high school parking lot. I was on the phone with 911, and they had informed me that police were almost there. So I pulled into the parking lot and stayed there until police arrived.
Thank you. And I want to go back to when you described how you observed the older man on the ground with the later, as you know, younger female or younger woman on the ground. You made a gesture earlier in trying to describe that. Can you describe what that gesture was? How was he holding her?
What I saw was her head was right about here.
So can you describe it with words? And
describe it with words, yes. Absolutely.
So let me just explain something. So
Yes.
we have a court reporter. So again, I know it's very difficult to talk slower, but our court reporter has to write down everything that is happening.
Okay.
So we have to describe what's happening as if you were reading it from a piece of paper.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So if you could slow down just a little bit more.
Okay.
And then describe what you were seeing.
What I was seeing was a head with with hair in the face in the elbow area of an arm. So the head was in between a bicep and the bicep and the forearm, I suppose. That's the area that I saw the head, her head.
And when you said you observed these, the young male striking the older man, or the adult male, and the other kids engaged, were their strikes effective in releasing the young woman from the adult male?
They were not effective.
Do you recall the older woman dressed all in black saying anything about the girl on the ground?
I did not hear anything that was audible, no.
Okay. How would you describe the build of the young female that had been on the ground?
She was a petite woman, young girl. I'm almost 5'9", and I was quite a bit taller than her, so she was slender.
And how would you describe the adult male in terms of build and size?
He appeared to be a larger man. The entire time that I saw him, he was either close to being on the ground or on the ground. So I didn't get a full, I didn't get a, side by side.
Sure. And do you recall if the adult male was saying anything at the time?
Not that I was able to hear, no.
Okay. And where did Josh go once if anywhere, once the younger female had been released?
Josh stayed in where he was. He stayed next to the man that was on the ground.
Okay. And did you make contact with law enforcement?
I did after they arrived, yes.
Okay. And did you provide a statement to law enforcement?
I did.
Ms. Wagner, how would you describe the fullness of your statement today in comparison to the statement you gave to law enforcement?
I would say as close as it could be.
Okay. And would it be fair to say you've provided more details today?
Yes.
Okay. And why is that?
Well, you were able to show me the map so I can pinpoint exactly the location. And the questions that you asked me, when the police asked me to give a statement, they just said, tell us everything that you think is important. And so I wrote that down, and there weren't any other additional questions. So.
Okay. And I want to show you some still shots.
Actually, Ms. Stone, I think that we'll do that after our afternoon recess. You can just stay where you're at. Members of the jury, the bailiff is going to come forward and lead you back to the jury room for our afternoon break.
All right, we're going to step aside here for a break. Up next, another eyewitness to the fight takes the stand. Very important to the state's case. Keep it here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Brian Kohberger accepted a plea offer.
A shocking turn of events.
Have you plead guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Convicted killer Brian Kohberger will learn his fate for murdering 4 Idaho college students.
He is the boogeyman.
And come face to face with the families of his victims.
And I pray that we have justice.
The sentencing of Brian Kohberger. Live coverage begins July 23rd, only on Court TV.
All right, we're going to get you back to more testimony in the attempted honor-killing trial in just a moment. First, I want to bring in my guest, criminal defense attorney Josh Kolsrud. Josh, great to see you. Thank you so much for joining me here on the program. I want to talk a little bit about the testimony that we're watching. One of the things that jumped out at me when we talk about these 2 defendants, I think it's clearly a tougher case against the mom. But one of the things I heard, she talks about after the girl gets up, the mother then runs in and grabs her by the neck. One of the things I thought her attorneys were trying to say is that maybe she was there to kind of deal with the situation, help out, figure out what's going on. But her going after the daughter, after she gets up from this ordeal, I think kind of flies in the face of that argument.
That's a great point. And the defense did say that during their opening arguments that Mrs. Ali was there to actually help and assist her daughter. In fact, her attorney did say that the daughter told the police that, she was calm and collected, but the witness testimony that we're hearing right now really paints a different story. And I'm going to be very interested to see how the defense attorneys confront that witness with supposedly Mrs. Ali's calm behavior.
Josh, tell me how important it is. Explain how important these eyewitnesses are, because again, when they're giving their testimony, they're providing a sense of what was happening. So for instance, this witness, what I got from her is that this was a dire situation, and she was very distressed by what she was seeing. I think that's very important in what I think is a very difficult case in terms of proving the intent of either of these defendants.
Well, these cases are notoriously hard because whenever you have kind of a melee, which is, a bunch of people fighting, and you're going to have a different interpretation from a lot of different witnesses about what happened. But what we're seeing today is, at least from the witness testimony, the stories are pretty consistent from the bus driver to the lady who is testifying right now, that they believed that the daughter's life was in danger. That's something that they share in common. It's not that, she saw the daughter and thought that maybe she was in some trouble. She saw the parents were there and they were trying to help. That's not what she said. She said that the daughter looked like she was in dire straits. And that's painting a completely different picture than what the mother's defense attorney said during opening arguments.
Yeah, I would agree. And to me, I wrote down, she says when she got up, she sort of staggered away on weak legs. She was unstable. I mean, all of that just paints the picture for the jury. All right, Josh, stand by. I want to head back to court now. Right now, a new witness is actually on the stand, and he's the husband of the previous witness. So let's go into court.
And are you familiar with the area of Timberline High School located at 6120 Mullen Road Southeast?
Yes, it's close to my house.
Okay. Is that in Lacey, Washington?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you in or around that area on October 18th, 2024, just after 2 p.m.?
Yes.
And where were you coming from?
Brunch. It was my birthday, so I'd gone out to brunch that morning.
So it kind of what?
It was my birthday. I'd gone out to brunch that morning, so I was heading home.
Okay. Who were you with, if anyone?
Mary Wagner.
And who was Mary?
My wife.
And what kind of vehicle do you drive?
2016 Ram 2500.
And when you were on your way home from brunch, was there anything significant that occurred that you observed?
Yeah, in front of the school, there was a pack of kids that looked like they were fighting, so pulled into the turn lane to stop the fight.
Okay. And when you say the school, what school are you referring to?
Timberline High School.
Okay. So when I ask questions, I'm just going to ask you to pause for just a second. It's natural for people to talk over each other. So we have a court reporter and she has to write it down. So if you can just pause for a second, okay? So you said Timberline High School, is that right?
Yes.
And you said you saw a pack of kids. Where was that pack of kids? Where was this event occurring?
At the bus stop in front of the school.
Okay. And what did you do when you observed that incident?
I pulled into the turn lane and exited my vehicle and approached the kids.
Why did you approach the kids? I mean, let me ask this a different way. Have you seen fights before?
Yes.
Okay. Do you stop your vehicle in the middle of the road for fights?
If it's a one-on-one fight, I wouldn't stop necessarily. But it was a huge mob of kids, and to me, that's unjust.
Okay. And so as you see that, was this a different scenario?
Yes.
Okay. When you got out of your vehicle and you got closer, did your opinion about what was occurring change?
Absolutely. I realized it was not.
Okay. I'm going to ask you some follow-up questions, okay? When you got closer, what did you see?
I seen a grown man choking a young teenage girl.
And you say choking, what does that mean to you?
He was on his back and had the young girl on top of him in a rear naked choke.
That is a pretty specific term. So tell me what you mean by that. Why do you use that term?
That's what I know it is called. He had his arm wrapped around her neck.
How do you know that's what it's called?
I was in the military and we did training, and we.
What branch of the military?
U.S. Army.
Okay. What'd you do in the Army?
I was a mechanic.
And you said you did training. Were you associated with any particular unit that gave you that type of training?
I was in the special ops community.
And so when you say you observed him holding her in a rear naked choke, is that a specific hold that you're familiar with based on your training?
Absolutely.
How long were you in the Army?
13 years.
So what did you do when you made that observation about what the adult male was doing to the young female?
I stopped him from choking her.
Okay. Were there any other adults that were present at the time that you observed?
There was an adult woman screaming and crying. I didn't know who it was at the time.
What about any other adult males there besides the one that you've identified on the ground?
Not initially, no. Not that I remember.
Okay. Yeah, Bertrand?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been admitted, Mr. Wagner, to States Exhibits 1 and 4. Ask you to look at those silently yourself, and then look up at me when you're done, please.
And Mr. Wagner, could you pull yourself just a little bit
Yes,
closer
ma'am.
to that microphone and make sure you don't speak directly into it, but closer to it?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And do you recognize what I've handed you in States Exhibits 1 and 4?
Yes, ma'am.
What are those?
Aerial view map of the area of Mullen and Timberline High School.
Okay, do those appear to be true and accurate representations of that area as it appeared to you on October 18th of 2024?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to take them back from you. Thank you. Okay, publish, Your Honor.
You may.
I'm showing States Exhibit 1. Mr. Wagner, can you identify, describe on this photograph where you were coming from, which direction you were heading to for the jury, please?
I was coming from, I was on Mullen from top left, traveling towards the bottom right on Mullen.
Okay. And that's almost intersects the bottom left corner of that photograph. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Showing you States Exhibit 4. And you described where you stopped your vehicle. Where was that on this photograph?
Right where it says Mullen, in that turn lane, in front of the bus stop symbol.
I'm gonna scale out for just a hair. Okay, so are you talking about this bottom left-hand arrow here?
Yes.
Okay. And where was
the bottom left of the exhibit?
Yes.
And where was this event occurring as you recalled it?
Pretty much right where that bus stop symbol is.
Okay. Was it on concrete or was it on dirt? If you remember.
Where it started, I don't remember, but it ended in the dirt.
Okay. So where you ended up.
I just want to say kudos to these good Samaritans that where they're driving by, could have went on with their lives, decided to stop and help and figure out what was going on there with those kids and this adult. All right, let's pause it right there, folks. Josh Wagner, an eyewitness to the fight, testifies next about seeing the victim's face turning colors and being afraid that she would lose consciousness. So keep it here on Court TV Live. Welcome back to our special coverage of the attempted honor killing trial in Washington State. I'm Michael Ayala. Ihsan Ali and his wife Zahraa are accused of attempting to kill their 17-year-old daughter back in October of last year. The attack was captured on video, and it happened outside the victim's former high school as she and her boyfriend walked to the bus stop. Now, witnesses say after the defendant punched his daughter's boyfriend, he then put his daughter in a chokehold. The victim reportedly told police that her father threatened her with an honor killing for rejecting an arranged marriage. But neither side is allowed to mention honor killing or arranged marriage because the judge ruled that those terms are too prejudicial. Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas is here now with more on today's testimony. Cody.
Well, good evening, Michael. Always great to see you, as always. Now, following those brief opening statements today, the court heard from the bus driver who witnessed the altercation take place between Ihsan and Zahraa Ali and their daughter.
While they were fighting, while the punches were being thrown, he did lay a punch onto the male student who fell back. And at that time, the adult actually grabbed this female student.
When you say grabbed her, what do you mean by that?
He grabbed her by, through the front, spun around, and then put a chokehold on her. I secured my bus by putting in neutral, engaging the emergency brake, and I went out there and confronted the man while he was on the ground holding the female student. And I told him, let her go. And I believe I said it probably 2 or 3 times, let her go.
And how did you say that?
I yelled it. I said, let her go, let her go.
And did he?
He did not.
Disturbing video of the altercation was shown in court today, depicting Ihsan grabbing his daughter Fatima while other students attacked him in an attempt to make him let her go. Now, following that video, the state's next witness, Officer Sofal Hong, took the stand. He told the court that Ihsan had reported Fatima missing earlier in the day. Now, he went on to talk about the details of his investigation.
Later that evening, I went to St. Peter's Hospital.
Okay, and what was the purpose of going to St. Peter's Hospital?
It was to speak with CPS and to get a recorded statement from Fatima herself.
What was her demeanor like when you spoke with her?
Pretty weak, pretty tired.
Okay. And what did you hear or observe that made you think that she was weak and tired?
When we started the interview, she was just very soft-spoken, had a little bit of a raspy voice.
Now, both Ihsan and Zahraa Ali are facing years behind bars for attempted murder and assault charges. And if convicted, Ihsan faces life in prison while Zahraa faces up to 41 years behind bars. Michael?
All right. Thank you very much, Cody. Appreciate that report. Folks, I want to head back to court now where eyewitness Josh Wagner is testifying about how the victim looked during the attack.
When you saw the female that was being choked by the adult, how old did this individual look to you? Are you talking a child, an adult? Where in that range would you assess this female?
Teenage girl.
Okay. Were there, besides the adult female that you described, the adult male, the young female, were there any other people present that you recall?
Yeah, there was a pretty good group of kids trying to stop what was going on. I couldn't tell you how many. I would estimate 5 to 10, roughly.
Was it apparent to you that they were trying to stop what was going on?
Yes.
How would you describe their demeanors in terms of how did they present to you?
They were very frantic and afraid.
Did you observe whether that, well, let me back up. The adult female that you saw, how was she dressed in appearance? If you remember.
She had a head covering on.
Okay. Did you see if she was assisting? You've described yourself as assisting in trying to remove the young female from the older male. Were there any other adult males that were helping you with that?
No, not initially.
Okay. What about later?
There was the bus driver that got out, and he was kind of standing there. I don't think he knew what to do.
Okay.
And by that point, it was already kind of under control.
Okay. And what about that adult female that with the head covering? Was she assisting in any way, helping remove the
I don't
female
remember that. I wasn't focused on that.
Okay. You don't remember her assisting?
No.
And do you recall a young man that was present at the scene? Apologies. That was poorly worded. Do you recall any of the kids specifically that were there at the scene as if they were helping?
No,
Okay. Do you remember, in terms of the adult female that was present at the scene, if she was saying anything? You described her as crying. Do you remember if she was saying anything at the time?
She was speaking in, she wasn't speaking English.
Okay. So she was saying something, but not in English?
Yes.
When you saw the young female, how did she appear to you when you saw her?
Her face was changing colors when she was being choked.
What kind of colors? When you say that, what does that
She
mean?
was going to lose consciousness if it continued.
When you arrived, did you say anything to the adult male that was choking her?
No.
Okay. Was the impact of the kids, was that having any effect on them, on the adult male releasing the female?
No.
How would you describe the adult male's build?
He's a decent sized guy.
Would you recognize him if you saw him again?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you see him in court today?
Yes.
If you are able to, could you please identify where he's located and an article of clothing that he's wearing?
He's wearing a dark blue blazer or sport jacket, sitting near the window.
Can I just ask that the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant?
The record will reflect that the witness has identified Mr. Ali.
Did you speak with him at all during the course of this, if you recall?
No.
Okay. How would you describe the build of the young female? How did she appear to you? I mean, I know what you described her kind of physical appearance as the events were occurring, but how would you describe her build?
She seemed to be a petite girl.
And did you speak with her at all?
No.
While you were there with Mr. or the male, was he saying or doing anything? Was he speaking to the female in any way that you observed?
Not that I recall.
Did you know any of these people?
No.
Okay. And is there any way you could have confused what was occurring with maybe just a hug or a restraint type hold?
Absolutely not.
Why do you say that?
It was due to the young girl's color changing and recognizing what was going on. It was very obvious she was being choked.
All right, let's pause it right there. The state is about to play a video of this particular fight, but because there are minors shown in that video, we're not able to show it to you. But up next, the witness to the fight will be on cross-examination, so keep it here on Court TV.
Matriarch of the Adelson family gets arrested.
Terrible. Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law, Dan Markell.
Prosecutors say a bitter child custody battle was the motive for the murder-for-hire plot. Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
Now that the ship is really sinking fast, blood doesn't matter that much.
The Matriarch Mastermind murder trial. Live coverage begins this August on Court TV.
Welcome back, folks. Let's head back to court now for more testimony in the attempted honor-killing trial of Ihsan and Zahraa Ali. The witness is now on cross-examination.
Mr. Wagner, fair to say that you came upon this scene sometime after it had started?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fair to say you don't really have any idea how long that was?
No.
Okay. And I guess I was confused about your description. When you first came up, you said that the young girl was on top?
Yes.
Of the man? Okay. And so was he on his back?
Yes.
Okay. And it was you that made him let go?
Yes.
All right. And after he let go, did he move anymore?
He tried to get up. That's it.
Okay. How long after the young woman got up did he try to get up?
I don't remember the exact time. It was shortly afterwards.
Mr. Kading, can I have you just get a little bit closer to that microphone?
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Thanks.
Okay. And so when he tried to get up, Did you stop him?
Yes.
All right. And did you at some point roll him onto his side?
Yes.
Why?
To keep him there until the police arrived.
All right. And when the police arrived, did you immediately let him go?
Once the police arrived, they took control of the situation.
Okay. But you walked him up to the police car, right?
I helped the police, yes.
Okay. Are you a police officer?
No, sir.
Okay. And the bus driver was there. Can you describe him?
No, I don't really recall what he looked like other than the high-vis vest.
Okay. So you know it was him wearing that?
Yes.
All right. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Cross-examination, Mr. Larry.
Briefly, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Wagner.
Hello.
Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
So, have you seen the video?
Yes.
Okay. And did the prosecutor show it to you, or did you see it somewhere else?
It was a public records request.
Okay. So did you file a public records request?
Yes.
Okay. And so you got the video. Did you get police reports or just the video?
Just the video.
Okay. And when was that?
Months ago. I don't remember the exact time.
Okay. How many times do you think you've watched the video?
A few times. I mean, couldn't give you a number.
Okay. All right. So from the looks of it, you were able to kind of get control of Mr. Ali relatively quickly. Is that fair?
Yes.
All right. So we've seen the still shots of you getting out of the truck, correct? Yes.
Yes.
And then running across the street, correct?
Yes.
And then you kind of make your way through the crowd, and then you pointed out, or you recognized your hat, correct?
Yes.
And at that point, you then go down kind of hands-on, correct?
Yes.
And was there anything in between you and Mr. Ali in terms of your ability to get to him?
Just the kids, the group of kids that was around.
Okay, and they were mostly standing around?
Yes.
All right, so you kind of work your way through, and then when you go to the ground, you're able to kind of get hands-on Mr. Ali almost immediately.
Yes.
And you're able to free the young woman from his grasp, correct?
Yes.
And that's almost immediately?
It was pretty quick.
All right. And you described an older woman wearing a headscarf, correct?
Yes.
And you said older in the sense that there was a younger woman with a headscarf and then an adult woman. Fair?
I didn't say anything about a young woman with a headscarf.
Okay. Okay. So how many women did you see there with a headscarf?
One that I recall right now.
Okay, and that's exactly what you're supposed to do. I appreciate you correcting me. So you saw a woman with a headscarf?
Yes.
Okay, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, so how would you characterize her age?
Roughly my age or older.
Okay, and you are how old?
I'll be 43 this year.
Okay, so an adult woman with a headscarf?
Yes.
All right. And so, and you described her as kind of upset and crying?
Yes.
And where was she in proximity to you?
15, 20 feet maybe.
Okay. Did she get in your way at all?
Not that I recall.
Did you see her getting in the way of anyone trying to kind of address the situation?
Not that I recall. Okay. I wasn't focused on that.
All right. And so basically, if I'm correct, you get out of the truck, you get over there, work your way through the kids, and you are able to kind of put this to rest almost immediately.
Pretty quick.
And then you're able to hold down Mr. Ali, correct?
Yes.
And other than him attempting to get up once, was he actively fighting you?
No.
Okay. Right. And so you're just kind of waiting there, counting the seconds till the police come.
Yes.
And then they take over, correct?
Yes.
All right. All right. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Ms. Stone, redirect.
Everything, I thank you. Mr. Wagner, when you assisted law enforcement. Do you remember how many law enforcement were present? Were there multiple officers that came up to you, or one officer?
Just one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of the time that the older man was down on the ground, it was essentially you and that one officer. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And that one officer didn't ask you to step back, disengage, anything like that?
No.
Okay. And when you say pretty quick, you got the older man in control pretty quick, was that because he suddenly decided to cooperate with you?
I don't know if that's why. It was just, adrenaline was going pretty quick and it happened very fast.
So when he, let me ask this a different way. When the young female was released, what did that look like from the older man? Did he just suddenly hands up, push her away, I'm done with her, or something else?
He tried to get up and I didn't allow him to get up.
Okay, so to be clear, she was released because of your engagement with him, not because of a voluntary choice by him.
He released because of me getting involved.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Mr. Cady, any further comments?
All right, let's bring back in our guest to discuss, though, with us, criminal defense attorney Joshua Kolsrud. Joshua, what do you make of the cross-examination? There's a couple of themes. First one I'll throw at you is it seems like both attorneys for both defendants focused on the lack of resistance from the defendant, Ihsan. And the idea, of course, I think being that maybe he was responding to different stimuli, but we'll get to that in a minute. But your thoughts on the cross-examination?
Sure. I think that they should have spent a lot more time pointing out that this witness, Josh Wagner, went on his own and received a video of the bus, or the bus's video of what happened. This really undermines, I think, his credibility. It undermines the fact that what he was testifying to is spontaneous, that it was, everything that he remembered. And it really shows confirmation bias. If you're a defense attorney, it shows that, how many times did you watch this? Did you feel right every time that you watched this, that you did the right thing? So I think they really should have hammered that out a lot more. Now, what we're watching now is also only a snapshot. So Josh, the bus driver, the female witness as well, they all arrived after the fight started. And one of the hardest things the prosecutor is going to have to prove in this case is intent. Did Mr. Ali and Mrs. Ali intentionally attempt to kill their daughter? And when you're trying to reach that motive, especially because you're unable to talk about an honor killing or an arranged marriage, it's going to be very, very difficult going forward.
Yeah, and the thing you're referring to is that witness did a public records request for the video. I don't think I've ever seen that in a trial at all. It's just, again, very bizarre. Tells you a little bit about him. I agree with you. The question is how much that affects his credibility. The other theme that I think they're going for in a lot of the cross-examination is the chaos. So that's what I was referring to in terms of what stimuli this defendant was responding to. He wasn't responding to the kids because there was chaos. They were attacking him. As soon as this guy gets involved, he kind of gives up the situation. Do you think that's helpful for the defense?
I do. And if you listen to what Mr. Wagner said, his initial reaction was that this was a school fight. He didn't say that this was a life or death situation. When he, I guess, got a little closer, he decided to get involved. And, that's when he saw that the father, Mr. Ali, was on top of his daughter with, what he called a rear naked choke, where he had to disable him until the police arrived. So, in this melee, again, there's always going to be a lot of different stories about exactly, what happened. But one thing that is happening right now is that Mr. Wagner and the bus driver, they all are saying the same thing, that Mr. Ali was overreacting at the very least, and by putting a chokehold on his daughter. Now, whether or not a chokehold constitutes attempted murder, we'll wait and see.
That's a different story. All right, Josh Kolsrud, thank you so much for joining me this hour. I appreciate it. I'm Michael Ayala. It's a pleasure being with you. Thank you so much for being with me. Coming up next is Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan. Vinnie takes a look at the biggest moments in the first day of testimony in the attempted honor-killing trial. Keep it here on Court TV, the front row seat to justice.